For the delay, everybody, appreciate you being patient. I hereby announce and state that adequate notice of this meeting was provided by virtue of a resolution scheduling the time, date, and place of the meetings of the Borough Council of the Borough of Morris Plains for the year 2024, which resolution was adopted by the Borough Council on January 4th, 2024, and published in the Morris News-Beacon and Daily Record. And by posting of such resolution on the bulletin board in the Borough Hall, all the above actions being in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec. Roll call, please.
Mayor Horan.
Present.
Ms. Verga.
Present.
Mr. Bruhn.
Present.
Mr. Cortese.
Present.
Ms. Potter.
Present.
Ms. Kelly.
Present.
Mr. Wagner.
Present.
I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight, and we'll go around. Nancy, do you have anything for conference?
Just a question, because it's not on the agenda per se, an update on anything, or is there any update from the Affordable Housing Committee on what's been going on?
No, I don't know what the next meeting date is, but that motion to stay has been pushed back. I believe it's December 20th. So I'm kind of in limbo with that right now. Plans have been moving forward, and Liz is still working on some of the numbers that you see.
So we don't have our counter number?
Not yet.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Dennis?
No, Mayor, nothing.
Nothing.
Joan?
Nothing.
Art?
Just real quick, I've been working with, John Horan and our DPW, the DPW of, Denville. Excuse me. So our current process to get our guys CDL licenses, they go to a private school, I call it, and it could cost up to $4,000, which is a big outlay for these guys that are just starting. So, some of our towns have acquired or had sent guys to become trainers, so they can train our newly employed guys to get their licenses for like $1,000 or less, depending on how long it takes. So I know, we're excited about it, and there's been conversation, so I think we're getting closer. I don't know, John, if you can, is there anything else you can add to that, or it's,
Only that we are working on
Okay.
an interlocal services agreement with Denville. One of the little recent hang-ups was, and quite frankly, really the only last issue that needed to be wrinkled out was the cost of it. Initially, we thought the cost, I think, was gonna be roughly a little over $40 an hour. The attorney for Denville Township, who I know very well, reached out to me this morning and advises that what Denville's looking for is a little bit more in terms of an hourly cost. So how Denville's proposing to do it, and I mean, ultimately it's the council's call, is that there's gonna be 3 different teachers from Denville on the drivers themselves. There'll be teacher A, B, and C based upon experience, and A is gonna cost somewhere around roughly $60 an hour. B would cost $50, and then C would cost $40. And then on top of that, there would be a 15% administrative fee for, I guess, paperwork and things like that, and exactly what sounds like administrative work itself. So that's that, and then he has asked me to go ahead and draft somewhat of a small interlocal services agreement. I've already done that, and forwarding it to him for his review. We should have signatures and signing on that, assuming that that's the way the council wants to work. Now, if you do the math, it's my understanding, and I don't fully remember how I recall this, but it was my understanding that it takes about roughly 16 hours per trainee to get this appropriate schooling. So if you do the math, even at $60 an hour times 16, I think it's $960, give or take. So it's still a savings, and that's of course if you use the top teacher. The bottom teacher is about $680 or $640, somewhere in that range. So I think it's still a savings to the borough, and probably something you guys should do. It's obviously it's your call, but from my end, just about everything's in place. We just got to get signatures at this point.
in fact, I did discuss it with my council, or committee, that we were in agreement with that, so I just didn't know how far along we were on the paperwork side.
So I just have a question with the 16-hour thing, because isn't it a 40-hour class with the that private school, like you said?
I did reach out to the superintendent of Denville, and he said that they could get it done in 60 hours. I don't have a CDL, never applied for it, so I'm not as versed.
Yeah,
know you
as
probably
long
have
as-
your CDL, but they did, and
I
think-
just thought it was a requirement, it was a federal requirement or state now, whichever it is, to go through.
As
I
long as
could
there's.
try to Google it.
Yeah,
Try
no,
to
that's
find out,
fine,
but-
as long as he's built, they're
Yeah.
the instructors. so-
Yeah, right, I know that other towns, John Signorelli and Kevin have been in touch with them, so. It just seemed like a nice option for our new employees that
I
are.
know this is gonna be later after this agreement, but have you discussed, how that will take place, how the employee will go or reimburse the borough moving forward?
I've spoken to John and Anna, and, there was some ideas that weren't gonna work, like a deduction, a payroll deduction. So John said we could draft called a contract, John, or
Some sort of agreement?
right, agreement.
And that's easy, but then, I guess there would be a question of, you probably would want, well, I think you would have the trainee go and get the training first and then reimburse the borough. I mean, that's something you guys need to iron out a little bit as to when you want payment too. But otherwise, I mean, from my end, from a legal perspective, I mean, that's just a very brief sign of, hey, prior to taking the class, sign this document, best of luck to you, and have at it. The timing of the payment is something you should.
And is there any indication how long this will take before this gets agreed upon or whatever?
Well, that's outside of my hands only because I have to get Denville's cooperation and signing and whatever Denville wants to do and their administrator wants to do. And they're busy, you know,
It's the
in
end of the
fairness
year,
to them,
everybody's
it was
busy.
tough to get to this point. So you'd think, well, you can sign a document in 24 hours, but, I would think probably 2 weeks, a week or two, just because of the.
Maybe by the end of the year, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
And again, I can't force it,
Yeah,
right?
no,
So that's-
I understand.
That's one of the issues.
100%, okay.
And just one thing on that, if that's the direction that we go in, we'll have to look back at the contract. Right?
Correct.
Just, yeah.
And just for what it's worth,
The contract with, the union,
For,
because there's stipulations in there in terms of getting your CDL, the time that you have to take it, and just, this might need to be written in, if it's an offering that the borough has.
did we extended that time frame though, didn't we? I think so.
just need to go back and relook at it.
Yeah, okay.
and then lastly, just for what it's worth, Denville was, for the most part, in agreement that 16 hours per trainee was pretty accurate. So there's 40 hours versus 16, which, again, Denville experiences that 16
Right.
should cover us.
And what happens, you take the certificate to the DMV, like you took this course kind of thing, like?
It's a written test first, and then you get that, your permit, and then.
Oh, okay.
Just like getting a
Right,
driver's license.
and then you go and you take a road test, and then you get
Right.
the appropriate designation,
On
AB,
your
whatever it is, A, B, or C, and D is passenger, on your actual license.
So they do both in terms of preparing you for the written test, and then after you pass that, they would then train you on the actual road test, if you will.
I don't know, cause I don't do the actual training, it seems to me like they do the road stuff, and then you would just, in that, acquire the knowledge to pass the race.
That's from discussions with staff, the road test is the hardest part.
You take the written test first, you pass the written test, you get the permit, and then they'll be able to drive here with another CDL driver for a period of time until their test date occurs.
Right.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah, like I said, because we need some drivers for salting and plowing, some of
We
the
need it,
trucks, yeah.
no matter what, it's a requirement.
But it's a requirement, but.
And that, do we have to change the time? I think they had like, was it 6 months to get the CDL?
They extended it.
That's still enough.
We extended it.
Well, you
in
extended, that's good, because
the contract
It's not
that we
gonna get
did
easier
earlier
getting a
this year.
license.
That's good.
Yeah.
Anything
Sorry.
else? Sal?
Not for this part.
No? Okay. Anybody else for conference? We do need an executive session. Nancy?
Be it resolved by the Borough Council of the Borough of Morris Plains on the 5th day of December 2024, the mayor and Borough Council shall meet in executive session, from which the public shall be excluded to discuss matters as permitted pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 subsections
B7 and B8.
B7 and B8. The time when the matters discussed pursuant to paragraph 1 hereof can be disclosed to the public is as soon as practicable after the final resolution of the aforesaid matters.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joan, all in favor? Opposed, abstained, the ayes have it. And next up, I ask you to excuse yourself, and we'll be back, no later than 8:30, so.